On May 10, 2021, 11 days of hostilities began between the Israeli military and Palestinian armed groups, including Hamas, in the Gaza Strip and Israel. The fighting took place amid escalating repression in occupied East Jerusalem and the prolonged closure of the Gaza Strip. These policies and practices reflect the Israeli government's crimes against humanity of apartheid and persecution. Human Rights Watch conducted in-depth investigations into 3 Israeli strikes that killed 62 Palestinian civilians and involved serious violations of the laws of war and apparent war crimes. In the northeastern corner of the Gaza Strip outside Beit Hanun town, shortly after 6 p.m. on May 10, a guided missile struck near 4 houses belonging to the extended al-Masri family. Members of the family were packing processed barley for animal feed into sacks at the time.
أنا وأخوي إبراهيم حوالي من 150 ل 200 متر بالضبط لما نستهدف أطفالنا. طبعا كان إحنا وجوهنا كان للحدث، شايفين الحدث بعينينا وإحنا جايين عليهم لما ننضربوا. جيت أجري فوق على الفور على المكان إجراي، لقيت اللي هو الموجود اللي هو الأطفالنا كلهم مرميين، هذول كانوا ملقين على الأرض طبعا بأشلاء ودماء أدمغة طائرة من الدماغ. ولاد يوسف.
Israeli authorities have said that the attack involved a misfired Palestinian rocket coming from the west, but have produced no evidence to back up this claim. Witnesses saw a munition approaching them from the east, from Israel. Based on munition remnants found at the scene of the attack and witnesses' descriptions, we determined that the 6 children and 2 adults were most likely killed by a type of guided missile used to attack military vehicles or personnel in the open. 6 days after the attack, the Israeli authorities also included the photo of 1 man killed in the Beit Hanun attack on a list of militant group activists they said had been killed in unspecified locations. Human Rights Watch's interviews with witnesses who knew him indicate the man was a civilian. Our research uncovered no evidence of a military target at or near the site. We therefore found the attack to be unlawful.
المنظر يعني مش عارف مش قادر اتوقع يعني كل الدار بصير يبكوا كل الصبح، كل الدار بصير صايم. يعني بطلب يعني عند زوجتي بتطلب، عارف شو تطلب؟ ببيع الدار. مش قادر اتوقع اولادها كيف لما ماتوا هان كلهم.
Al-Shati refugee camp, located northwest of Gaza City, is one of the most densely populated places in the world. At about 1:40 a.m. on May 15, an Israeli airstrike destroyed a 3-story building in the camp, killing 2 women and 8 of their children.
أنا كنت أسكن أنا وزوجتي وأولاد ال5 في نفس المنزل. طبعا احنا كنا ساكنين في منزل بسعادة وهناء بأجواء مليئة بالحب. يعني احنا ساكنين ل 30 عام في هذا المكان، طبعا من دون سابق انذار، من دون اتصال تحذيري او اخلاء. في الليل ذهبت لشراء يعني خبز عشان يتعشوا، اتفاجأت انه صار في اصوات انفجارات في المكان. انا لقيت بيتي مقصوف. انا
The Israeli military said it struck the building because senior Hamas officials were there. It also separately said that they had targeted a bunker under or near the building. None of the witnesses Human Rights Watch interviewed were aware of any militants or other military targets in or near the building. The Israeli authorities have presented no such evidence.
كان لي واقع هنا، كان لي حلم هنا، كان لي أسرة هنا. أصبحت الآن بلا أسرة بلا بيت. يعني أنا وبنتي الوحيدة أصفينا في الشارع. يعني كل حاجة في حياتي، دمروا حياتي بشكل كامل يعني.
At about 1 a.m. on May 16, the Israeli military launched a 4-minute attack in the heart of Gaza City along 5 streets, including Al-Wahda Street, causing 3 multi-story residential buildings to collapse.
أنا وأبويا وأمي وأخويا وأختي بدينا نسمع انفجارات قوية، فبعدها نزل الصاروخ الثاني على الدار. صارت تروح يمين وشمال زي بدأت تقع أو بدأت تهيل. أنا رحت شديت أختي من إيدها وسحبتها على الممر، حضنتها على أساس إنه أحميها. فجأة لقينا من الصاروخ الثالث بيطلع من الشباك نار، وحيطة الممر هيك كلها تنهد، والأرض هيك فجأة كلها اختفت وكل شيء وقع علينا. وبعدها نزل علينا الصاروخ الرابع، دمرنا تدمير يعني.
Human Rights Watch determined that the 3 buildings collapsed after missiles struck the road or sidewalk next to the buildings. The Israeli military said that they targeted tunnels used by armed groups. Later, they said the attack had targeted an underground command center, but without providing any details or evidence.
ليش قتلوا أهلي يعني؟ ليش قتلوا أبويا وأمي يعني؟ ليش شتموني؟ مين هيرجع لي حقي بالأول وبالآخر يعني؟ كيف هيرجعوا لي حقي؟
The attacks killed 44 civilians, including 14 women, 12 men, and 18 children. It also injured about 50 others. The Israeli military used powerful weapons in a heavily populated residential area, putting the lives of scores of civilians at risk. Since then, they have produced no evidence of a military target in the vicinity to justify the attack. If there was a military target, they have also not shown that it was important enough to justify the risk to civilians. As a result, these attacks were unlawful. The UN says that Israeli airstrikes in May killed at least 129 civilians, including 66 children. The Israeli military said that Palestinian armed groups in Gaza fired more than 4,360 rockets and mortars towards Israel between May 10 and 21, resulting in 12 civilian deaths, including 2 children. Several Palestinians also died in Gaza when rockets fired by armed groups fell short and landed in Gaza. Rockets that Palestinian armed groups fire at Israel are inherently indiscriminate when directed towards areas with civilians. Their use in such circumstances violates the laws of war and amounts to war crimes. For years, Israeli and Palestinian authorities have systematically failed to credibly investigate alleged war crimes. The International Criminal Court prosecutor should investigate Israeli attacks in Gaza that evidently killed civilians unlawfully, rocket attacks by Palestinian armed groups against Israel that violate the laws of war, and other grave abuses, including the crimes against humanity of apartheid and persecution.